And welcome back, everyone. This is for any woman. I want to ask you this question. I want you to think about it, honestly answer this question in your mind, even. Do you have joy and do you have peace in your life? Think about that for a second. Truly, the peace word is impactful. Personally, I never knew what that meant. People would say, peace be with you, peace be with you. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute. This was only a few years ago, by the way. I realized I don't really have any peace in my life until I figured it out, went on a journey and changed all of that. Just a short illustration for women going through the recovery process, even more impactful to find that joy and peace. And many times you need the right kind of help, and that can come in the form of a transformational and recovery coach. Found one for you. Her name is Karen Rubinstein. She's with us today. How you doing?
Hi, Steve. Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful to have you here. Love what you offer. There's lots of coaches out there, and that's wonderful. Even transformational coaches. But when it comes to recovery coaches, not so many. And when we say recovery, what are we talking about here?
Well, Steve, I'm working with women that are in early recovery. I'm an alcoholic with 4 years of sobriety. And it took me a long time to address my drinking issues. And also, I had a life of, you were talking about peace and joy. I thought the only time I could find joy, and I was always looking for happiness, it was always outside of me. Drinking actually made me, I thought, feel peaceful and joyous until it stopped working. And um, so I focus on helping women in recovery that maybe they're addressing other issues like depression and anxiety and turning to a bottle to
Mhm.
cope. And living a life of peace and joy is like the ultimate goal. I have more peace in sobriety now, and I feel more joyous and free than I have in my entire life. And that was after putting down the bottle and working on myself, doing inner work, and just I don't know, it
Mm.
works. Transformational coaching really helped me. The 12-step program really helped me. It helped me discover who I am, how what my thoughts and beliefs are, and where I want to go in life. I finally have a life of purpose. So it's really great.
You know, what you said there, and thank you for being transparent and sharing all of that. Um, Finding it from within
Mm,
is something I believe a lot of us struggle with, whether they're in recovery or not.
mm.
How do you describe that? I have my own description, once I figured it out, if you will. And it's an ongoing process. It's not like, you press a button, everything's great now. But how did you find it? And what was that moment where you realized, I call it the quiet calm, where you just had that feeling like, I'm good. I'm good with me. I realized some certain things here. And things are good. Things are good. I don't need other things. I'm good from the inside out.
It's true. I I moved a lot in life looking for the better place, the perfect home. At some point in life,
Mm,
I actually had that perfect home. I
mm,
had the picket fence, the Volvo wagon, the two Labradors. I had it all, and I felt depressed, anxious. I never really slept well. I had sleep disorders. How did I find the inner peace? Well, putting down the bottle, that was an extreme method. I thought actually putting down the bottle was going to like solve everything. I thought that was the problem. It was a symptom. I was
mm.
trying to run from my emotions, my fears, run away from life. And how often do you hear, "Oh, you're feeling anxious. Have a glass of wine. Go relax." So that was my go-to for escaping.
Mm.
Finding out, doing the inner work. So I had to stop, put down the bottle, realized that I was blaming a lot of my outside situations for my problems. I was in a real victim mode. And, it's so easy when they say if you're disturbed by a person, place, or thing, you're not accepting that person. Um, you're not accepting that situation. So a lot of it is acceptance of life, living life on life's terms, because life doesn't change. You change. And when you change, then your life starts to change. It's so funny. So I don't have to move anywhere to be at peace where I am. I don't have to go to a beach. I don't have to have vacation. I finally, and it's amazing. So when you
Mm,
tap into, and it's underlying, finding out, I found out where my fears stem from. I did a lot of the inner work. The 12 steps again helped quite a bit. Transformational coaching really helps you discover your underlying thoughts. Once I understood that my thoughts might be upside down, I was able to look at them and say, well, that's not really true. And again, then I started living life on life's terms, getting out of my own way, letting the universe teach me and going with the flow. And ever since I put my ego aside and I'm more in tune with my who's Karen and where do I want to go? It's really amazing. Life it flows.
mm,
And I know if I have a day of struggle, I think, okay, what am I not accepting today? What is being triggered from my past? What false thought do I have in this situation? Okay, I'll give you an example because I'm getting a little. So my husband, a few months ago, and our marriage is the best that it's been in 34 years. I mean, because once I fix myself, everything falls into place. So let's say he wasn't paying attention and I was talking, and in the past, let's go to the old Karen. I would have been like, what's wrong with him? Always a him. What? Like, why doesn't he? And so I started to get angry. I'm human. I'm like, oh, and with oh, he should be listening to me. But I stopped, I paused, which is very good. Stop, reflect. And I
mhm.
thought, okay, what's going on here? And I could realize that when I was young, I used to be ignored a lot. I was in a very big family. I felt like I wasn't paid attention to. And I'm like, oh, okay, that happened before. So then I was able to take a deep breath and say, you're not really listening to me. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And it was something innocuous, like he didn't mean to. But in the past, I would have built a whole thing of it. So that's where the peace comes from. Not only the inner peace, but I create a peace around me now, which is lovely. It's great.
Sure. Now, you identified in that situation where a lot of the things that we deal with go back to our childhood.
Mm.
In terms of percentage, meaning the stuff that's either holding us back or triggering us or really impacting the way we act as adults, if, is it 30%, 50%, 80%? Where do you think it would be? And this is just, your opinion.
My opinion, I think that we're very, well, they always say that children learn like sponges. We just soak everything up.
Yep.
So, and you have caretakers. So you're in a vulnerable position. This is just, like I'm not a therapist, I'm a coach, but this is what I'm learning is that okay, say I had sisters that like would yell at me or whatever. So what thought did I have? What fear did I develop? I had a fear like of trusting people. So it started then. And or I would feel like if someone was yelling at me, well, I'm valueless or I deserve it or I'm bad. So I'm not really consciously thinking that. I'm not like
Right.
standing there like, oh, I'm bad. But that gets a little seed, like little thing in the back of your head. So now let's move forward. Let's go into high school and somebody is mean to me. And now I'm like, oh, I really am bad or I deserve it. It gets reinforced and reinforced. It's so funny with the work that I've been doing. And I actually, oh, let me hold it up. I actually have a little workbook that I have some pieces of this on my website that people can download in a guidebook. Anyway, it's based on the fourth step of the 12 steps that you write down a person that upset you, something that happened, and you go through your life. And what's funny is that person that bothered you when you were 5 might show up that the same feelings start threading through your whole life. So that's where I'm saying if you understand where it came from and the thought little patterns, then you could start to break it. And then you
Sure.
can say, well, that's not really who I am. And that's not the situation today. And that's the freeing part because once you realize it and you bring it to light, you let it go and you're like, oh, okay, I can move on. Oh my gosh, I've never been able to do that because I love therapy and, a lot of my clients work with therapists and when you have deeper issues, so important. But a lot of times, if I went back to my childhood, I'd be like, oh, okay, this happened. Oh, that was bad. That made me feel bad. And I didn't really understand that, gee, I was there too. And I had thoughts about that situation, thoughts that, gee, they kind of stuck in the back of my head and carried through. So, it's wonderful. I love transformational coaching. And it all came because I did put down the bottle. I was really blessed to find a 12-step program and really for me, it was a life and death situation. Um, I had to change. I had to change, or it was not good.
And again, thank you for sharing your journey and that those things from our childhood could be the littlest things or it could be
Mhm.
bigger things. For me, it was bullying. Parents got divorced when I was very, very young.
Mm,
Um, but I knew, like, I worked with a hypnotherapist, all different modalities to get it done.
mm,
But the first thing I said was, take me back to my childhood, please, back to the future. And let's go back because I knew there were things there. But then once you uncover one, you figure another one out, then another. Oh, that's why I do that.
mm.
And it's an ongoing process, but then you realize it, then you can work on it.
Yeah.
You also had some challenges, health challenges as well in your life. Is that right?
Well, I was severely, I was obese for a bit. When I dove into a bottle, I just gave up. I waved the white flag. But yeah, I've had traumas, sexual abuse, a variety. I've been through a ringer, and
Yeah.
I actually had to question that because I remember when I was in my 20s, a lot of bad stuff happened, and I couldn't understand why. Like, what was wrong with me? What was wrong with me? And I kind of got it right in some ways. Like, I was attracting certain people because I had no boundaries. I was insecure. And there are such thing as predators that can sense that. And, and I was kind of ripe for the picking. So for health issues, yeah, I mean, actually that is something I've had chronic, fatigue issues and things like that. And I'm
Sure.
actually working with a nutritionist because another part of my practice, working with people in sobriety, I've found you really have to work on your physical health, your mental health, and I have to be spiritually sober, emotionally sober, physically fit. I have to work really hard just to have, somebody once said, boy, we really have to work hard, alcoholics, to be normal. So anyway, but I find that I work on all those parts. And I went to a nutritionist, and I'll tell you, my husband and I have been following a diet. Talking about it all starts from the inside. You are what you eat. Skin issues are clearing up. I have more energy. So inside, it always starts within. Whatever you're eating, whatever you're thinking, what and how you're praying. It's all together. It's you need all three parts to have a really balanced, healthy, vibrant life.
Isn't
So,
it amazing? And it seems so elementary, but
mm,
we don't realize it or we don't believe it, how much that might impact us. But when those things are out of whack, we're out of whack
mm,
until you've, kind of figured them out. Oh, diet. Oh, sleep. Now, you could have anxiety if you're not getting enough sleep. You might not equate the two. That why am I more anxious? Because I can't cope. I haven't slept. It's so important. And that's just
yeah,
one aspect of it. Um, Thank you for sharing this. I love the way you're very real. And seriously, the stories that we tell, the stories that we hear make us feel normal, number one, or whatever normal is, or that we're like everybody else. And also gives you something to think about in terms of our lives, even spiritually. It seems that, you kind of nailed that one too. A lot of people don't even know what that means. They equate it to religion. That's not really, it can if you want it to be, but how would you define spirituality or maybe your spirituality?
I love that one because I do have an answer. When I was little, I really had such a deep faith in God, and I went to Catholic school, and our house was tumultuous, and I felt like I would talk with God every night, like he was my best friend, which was nice. And then I always thought like he was like I don't know. he just got forgotten. Not totally forgotten. I would have said that I was religious my whole life, and I thought I was, but um, for me, I feel like there's a flow of life and energy, a flow almost like the river of life. And I'm the only one that's getting in my way. When I go with the flow, like I really feel we
Mm,
all have a unique gift, a unique skill, a unique purpose for being here. So jump into the river of life, go with the flow, and it will take you places that you can't even imagine. Like I couldn't imagine. And I'll just tell you something. Until 4 years ago, I didn't have a voice. I could not do this. So how weird is that? Like I know I
wow.
really like my throat would close up. When I was in school, like I was really good with essays because I could not speak. And four
Wow.
years ago, like my voice opened up, and I'm like, oh, well, maybe God has a purpose. Maybe He's telling me, hey, you know what? You have a good recovery there, and there's so many people suffering.
Mm.
Unfortunately, in sobriety, I have lost quite a few people from overdoses and alcoholism. So I feel like it's a calling to get out there and help. Like really, like I feel like this is a service. And why women? Like I'll go to meetings, and it's 80% men, and yet women, they're out there. There's a lot. The rate of let me see. I think I have it. The rate of women dying of alcohol related deaths is rising faster than men for the first time. And so we're out there. I don't know why women aren't getting help in the meetings, except that I was afraid to. There's a stigma, there's a shame. And the thing is, I didn't even know where to go for help. That's why I thought, well, gee, I'm like any person any woman you'd see at the supermarket. I'm a pretty safe environment. I have a lot of life experience. I've overcome a lot. I'm living a really nice life and I thought, well, I have to share what I have. Just
I
get out there.
believe
So
we all have a purpose, right? I believe your purpose is just what you're doing. And that's why you got your voice back or your voice began. I totally agree with you in terms of that phrase. And it's so cliche that we just don't even we just block it out. It's like wallpaper when you hear it. Go with the flow. It's true where you just let life take you. That doesn't mean you just slack off and do nothing, but what it does mean, in my belief, is you don't fight the current. Because if you fight the
no.
current, it's going to be more work and you're going to wind up in the same place anyway, where this thing called the universe was going to take you in the first place. So
Yeah,
get on your back and just float until you get there.
yeah,
And sometimes along the way, there may be a log in the river of life.
yeah.
It might, there, you know, and you might have to bump into it and maybe go around it a little bit, but the current's going to take you, and there are lessons we have to learn.
Hmm.
And if you fight the lessons, you'll just keep learning them over and over again, or you'll be forced to confront the lesson again until you internalize and say, "Oh, I got that now. Well, let me keep swimming."
Yeah,
It's almost like Finding Nemo. Remember Dory? So like, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Yeah, just keep swimming, just keep going. It's
yeah.
okay. It's all right.
Mhm.
You're supported by this thing I believe is the universe. What's the universe? All right, debate coming in. Talk to my friend Trish, very religious. Well, who do you think designed the universe? All right, maybe. It's whatever you believe, whatever you want to believe. But yeah, it's a shame that women feel that they're viewed a certain way when it comes to alcohol and other challenges. And I don't have an answer. I don't know why that is, because usually men are the ones that don't traditionally, as we say, mask off.
Yeah, that is true. It is weird. I don't know because my husband was asking me today. He's like, why don't women go to meetings? And I'm like, I, honestly, there's women's meetings a lot more like are needed. There is a really great um, international women's group that meets 24/7 on Zoom. But, when I share, I know that I'll edit what I'm talking about in a room full of men because women have different issues and different things that they've gone through,
I
you know?
totally get it.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
think
that could
men
be
men
that
would
could be
do the
it. Yeah.
same. Men would do the same.
Well, yeah, there's men's groups and they do need that private space that, that they're heard and yeah, they're so I
And
don't know.
I can say this, and I just want to interject at this moment here. I understand it now. I joined a men's group about 5 months ago. Just they call it a leadership and community service group. We do things around the community, help out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. However, we also talk about our lives. And that's where the term mask off came from, where
Yeah. Oh,
that's one of our standards. Mask off, respect each other's time, never show up late, or there's a consequence, whatever.
yeah.
um, but you learn that others are going through challenges. And my biggest takeaway so far has been what you think people are is not really the reality. And you pointed it out earlier. Somebody might have the big house on the hill, the white picket fence, the dog, the cat, the kids, the two cars. Everything is wonderful. Everything is great. No, it's not.
No, you never know. You
You
never
never
know
know.
what's going on inside. Yeah.
Yeah. Perception is the reality. We perceive it, but it's not really what it is. And I saw that recently in somebody that I met. Like, this person's got it going on. Whoa. No, when you learn more and the mask comes off, that's not the case. They're
I'm glad, yeah,
struggling.
I'm glad that you said math because I was a perfectionist to a point I am. And
Same.
so many people are like, "Oh, isn't that a good thing?" And I'm like, "Well, it's really a mask." And why are you a perfectionist? And I'm realizing that in order to get my mother's approval, I better be like the best little girl in the world and the best student and look perfect. So to me, it equated acceptance and love. So,
Hmm.
I don't know. So,
Well, it's also, I believe, a badge of courage to walk around and say, "I did it." You in the room right there, you can't see the door. Is when I was 17 and used to draw cartoons in the library. Local library did a display on them, and I wanted to be a cartoonist, but I also wanted to do radio. Um, I almost became syndicated as a cartoonist, but I
oh my
started
God,
radio.
I used to be the cartoon editor at Rubinstein magazine. I think it's the only time that they had cartoons because I
Oh
drew
my
a
gosh,
comic strip in college. I love comics. Oh my God,
how
I
funny!
interviewed Dick Brown and Mort
Mort
Walker and all
Walker.
that.
I
Yeah.
studied them. I
Oh
would
my
stare
God.
for hours. I would ask for samples so I could look at the original art and look what kind of pen they used and how they made corrections
Oh
that we
my
didn't realize. Oh
gosh.
my gosh,
That
yeah.
is so cool. I'll have to
But
show you my comic strips
oh,
sometime.
we got to talk. I'll show you mine. Show
Oh,
yours. Show me
cool.
mine. But in that article, I there's a quote from me at 17. I'm a perfectionist, and I rode that forever. By the way, I was overweight and got bullied. So I get
Oh,
what you're saying. But for years, I rode the perfection thing. And until I realized not very far long ago that that's not reality. And the laugh of it all is whether it's drawing cartoons, whether whatever you're doing, you could do it 10 times. And somebody will look at it and say, it's the same as the other time you did it. I had a garbage can full of, crumpled up
yeah.
paper. It looks the same, but in your mind, it's like, I could do it a little bit better.
A little
What's
better.
what's the point? It's really, I think it's just to say, yeah, I'm a perfectionist, but it's really
Uh-huh.
you're covering up for other things,
Yeah,
from your
yeah,
childhood. We're back there
yeah,
again, right? How
yeah.
does it work? How do you work with women? If this is resonating with a woman, she's either in recovery or having just challenges, hasn't found, let's say, joy and peace. How do they connect with you, and how does it work?
Well, they can find my website, and actually, I'm really getting into social media. So if they go on my website, that's the first part. It's KarenRubinstein.com, and so connect there. There's a free 15-minute consultation to see if we're a good fit. And and working with me, we start out with a meditation to focus. And then basically, we just, a transformational, it's finding out who you are, but also who you want to be.
Hmm.
So I don't know, I reach out to me. I'd love to work with you. And again, I've been through it all. And my my little voice of hope, that's what I want to really get out there. Like I've gone from despair to hope and fulfillment, and you can too. And working with me, it's a safe environment. I understand you. I have a lot of empathy, a lot of skills, a lot of knowledge. I've been there. So, and
Yeah.
anyway,
And you're real. And I love the fact that it's like a 360 approach because it's spiritualism. You said
yes.
meditation. We can do a whole
Hmm.
podcast on meditation, how that can impact you.
Yeah.
I never thought I would like to just do nothing. I'm always running. I'm always running
Oh,
until I realized one day doing nothing is doing something because I'm
yeah.
thinking, processing, I'm in the moment, all of that. What's your website, Karen? How do we find you?
Oh, so I'll spell it out. It's Karen Rubinstein, and it's Karen Rubinstein, RUBINSTEIN.com.
Wonderful talking with you today. Thank you for what you do, helping to empower women to move their lives forward. And thanks for being here.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you, Steve.
Same.
Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.